Good afternoon, Americans and humans. This is your favorite alien on the afternoon of Sunday, September 25th, 2022. Sitting in for Paul Harvey this afternoon. Stand by for the rest of the story. Well, Americans and humans, especially Americans and Japanese, you guys have had interesting relations in the last 150 some years, since 1853. And yet, through all the bitter war that you had in 1941 to 45, I believe neither of the two nations have ever gotten the end of what they were trying to tell you for a long time, even as recently as the last couple of decades. Neither the Japanese nor the Americans or the humans for this matter on the planet have understood the meaning of World War II. And to this story, with Mr. Paul Harvey's blessing, I call it The Last Samurai. Back in 1853, Commodore Matthew Perry was sent to Japan to open up the country because it was looking inward. The Chinese went that way under the Mings also. And the Chinese, well, they never learned their lesson. The Western powers manipulated them so bad that still there's a hatred for the West in the communist Chinese today. And the Japanese went the other way. When the Japanese opened its ports in 1853, because of the two warships that were in Tokyo Bay, and the emperor realized that, time has passed us by. And also, this same theme was put in the movie that was done about 10 years ago, 20 years ago, The Last Samurai. And it was about this American captain that got caught by the samurai in Japanese territory in the 1870s, I believe 1876. And he learned from the Japanese, and the Japanese learned from him. At that time, the Meiji Emperor was trying to modernize Japan with mixed results. And the Americans, well, they always hated the Japanese because they consider them savages. Whereas, unlike the Chinese, the Japanese had a higher culture. They had a culture of samurais, yes, but they had a culture of honor. And that's the way that dictated their lives. Like the actor that portrayed the American captain in that movie, he came to understand the Japanese way of life and thinking. And somehow, the Japanese emperor in that movie came to understand his way of thinking, which wasn't American, it was human. The Americans as portrayed in that movie were arrogant, which they were, and still are, arrogant. The Japanese, they became arrogant also, and it cost them dearly in World War II with the atomic bombs. Made them despise war. War was a way of the Japanese culture under the samurai. The Americans never understood this. War for the Americans is we'll get there, we'll get our stuff done, and then we go home. The only problem is war is not like that. You get in there, and you have to pay dearly for why you got in there in the first place. You Americans haven't paid dearly. 460,000 of you died in World War II. 100-some thousand in World War I. 58,000 in Vietnam, 38,000 in Korea. You haven't paid dearly at all. Japan paid dearly. They lost millions. The Russians paid dearly. The British paid dearly. The Poles paid dearly. And a lot of other people paid dearly on World War II. 90 million plus dead. 90 million. And only 460,000 were American. You never learned a lesson of war. You haven't learned the lesson of being an American. You haven't learned the lesson of being a human. What is it going to take for you Americans and humans to understand the lesson? It was put out there in that movie, Last Samurai, although the producers and the executive producers of that movie don't understand what they were making. The actors did when they portrayed the actors as they did. Especially if the guy's still alive that portrayed the captain and the emperor. And the guy who narrated the movie. There's a certain peace that comes with being human. You haven't got that yet, because you don't know what it is to be human. The Japanese don't, the Americans don't. You're still fighting for something that you can't have. Statehood, nationalism. That is an artificial creation. This planet is your home. Is it your home planet? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not. You guys were thrown here by some other civilization because, as the British did to you Americans and Australians, they didn't like you over there. You had different ways of thinking, and they put you out to the other lands. That's probably what they did to you humans here. But you never thought to look at a human culture. Is there going to be war? There's a lot of unfriendly guys out there in the universe, more than you have here on Earth. Like I said, there's a civilization that's going to kill you, which, to put it in your own words, is like Nazis on steroids. And they hate because that's in their culture, hating. They hate humanoids and they hate the people here because you took their planet away, they say, but they had to leave because of an upheaval. How you got here? Well, they can't answer that because their race was long gone. Their descendants somehow lived here. You still got reptiles. Reptilians are still here. Mammalians are still here. Well, where did they come from? Some say, oh, it's part of natural selection. Really? No. Because you got history that you don't understand yet, and civilizations that were here between the time the reptilians left and the time that you are here today. Until you understand that, you won't find a civilization in yourselves. War is only thought for two reasons. Somebody wants to annihilate you, and you want to survive. You guys have made war kind of clean. If we fight it for religious or political or ideological reasons. Really? Yeah? Well, that's your way of looking at things, and that's why you become extinct. Anyway, sitting in for Paul Harvey today, I just wanted to tell you that the two people that came close to finding what human is, but they never did, is the Americans and the Japanese with all the hatred they had for each other. One for opening up the door and forcing them to be modernized. The other one because they looked at them as savages. Good day.